This offseason is officially one of the greatest of all time. You know what I'm saying? A lot of moves been going on. LeBron free agency, John Morant to the Trailblazers, Giannis to the Heat, which is the biggest headline of this offseason. And just to add on to it, Jaylen Brown has been officially traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. You know what I'm saying? The rival of the Boston Celtics. Who would have thought? And especially for the package that they gave up for him. Paul George, basically rounding out the trade, the biggest name besides Jaylen Brown in this trade. And pretty much a confusing move by Boston to trade, you know, saying Jaylen Brown for Paul George. But not only that, Jaylen Brown with the 76ers ultimately puts them in the championship or bust type of situation to where they're arguably the best team in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Besides OKC and the Spurs, Philadelphia is officially in that conversation. And especially if Embiid can stay healthy this season, I don't see what's stopping them from at least a finals appearance in the next 2 to 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Let alone a championship. You know what I'm saying? If Embiid can stay healthy, which has been, you know what I'm saying, a major problem pretty much since he came in the league, I really don't see a team in the East that can have enough to stop this team. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the first year they got to work out some kinks here and there, but for the next 2 to 3 years, longevity-wise, I don't see a team stopping them. And just to talk about the trade a little bit, like I said, Paul George is officially a Boston Celtic. You know what I'm saying? Got traded for Jaylen Brown. This trade had a lot of people in an uproar. Some people saying, well, pretty much everybody saying that this was a bad trade for Boston. You know what I'm saying? Oh, why would Boston do something like this? They basically just set themselves back. But I don't think a lot of people are really understanding, you know, the meaning behind this trade. This trade is not a championship or bust type of trade where they, you know, still view themselves as a champion as of right now. This is a trade that you're really going to start to see coming to fruition when Paul George's contract expires. You know what I'm saying? This is a trade for the future rather than for the now. You know, because in the next 2 years, Paul George's contract is going to expire, and I doubt that, you know, the Celtics are going to re-sign him. Even if they do re-sign him, it's not even going to be even close to what, you know what I'm saying, he's getting paid now. And then on top of that, you know, they got a few draft picks out of it. So I do think this trade is not for right now, but for the future. You know what I'm saying? When Paul George's contract does end, I think Boston will definitely look into bringing that extra star in. You know what I'm saying? But as of right now, for Boston, I think this is a trade where they're saying, let's at least stay competitive, continue to develop the talent that we have, basically give the keys to Jason Tatum to where now this is officially his team. He doesn't have to worry about, you know, being a 1A or a 1B. This is officially his team. There's no more debate about whose team is it, who does the Celtics value more. And also just now it's time for Hugo Gonzalez, Bear Shileman, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, the most important one out of all of them, to officially take that leap. I don't know why I put Derek White in that conversation, but Derek White, he is who he is at this point, but he's definitely going to have to take on a bigger role. But Peyton Pritchard, like I said, the most important out of this group, where they're really going to have to expect a major leap for him. You know what I'm saying? This is one of them trades where they're putting, you know, more pressure or increasing the expectations of basically the rest of their roster without Jaylen Brown. For the past few years, it's been, when is Peyton Pritchard going to take that leap? When is Hugo Gonzalez going to take that leap? When is even somebody like Jason Tatum going to take that MVP type of leap? And I think this is a trade where you finally, you know what I'm saying, get rid of all of the discussions and the debates, and this is it. I think this is the trade where you really get to see, was it on Jaylen Brown being able to make this team great, or was it, you know what I'm saying, basically the person that constructed this team, Brad Stevens, or was it, You know what I'm saying? Joe Mazzulla basically making it work, putting everybody in the best position possible. Just saying that is Jaylen Brown the one that was holding everything together. And like I said, I think a lot of people, they're looking at this trade as if, you know what I'm saying, Boston is looking at themselves as a win now type of team. When in actuality, you're not. You know what I'm saying? You trade away somebody like Jaylen Brown, you're not going to get somebody better than him unless it was somebody like a Giannis. They realized that, and they realized the best possible way for us to still put ourselves in a better position in the future is, you know what I'm saying, to get a player that's coming up on an expiring contract, get a few picks, and just get control of our future. You know what I'm saying? This is a trade that Boston is looking to get control of their future. You know what I'm saying? While still, like I said, staying competitive within the now. You know what I'm saying? But this trade is for 28, 29, 30 rather than 2027. So even though I still do think that this is a bad trade for Boston because they ultimately put it on themselves to have to get rid of Jaylen Brown, I do see where they're coming from as far as this trade. You know what I'm saying? It's still a bad trade. You know what I'm saying? It's still a head scratcher. This is a trade that really opens up the team. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much. Instead of just keying in on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You know what I'm saying? Because since they came into the league, they've pretty much been the core. You know what I'm saying? It's always been Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. You know what I'm saying? Can't say one without the other. You know? And it's a lot of debates that's been going on. Whose team is it? Who's the 1A? Who's the 1B? And with a trade like this, there's no more discussion. There's a clear-cut answer. It basically all falls on Jason Tatum's shoulder. And like I said, besides him, the whole roster opens up now. So now everybody's able to come into their own. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a place within this equation. I think ultimately for Jaylen Brown, you know what I'm saying, switching sides to Philly and Jaylen Brown, ultimately, if I'm Jaylen Brown, I feel completely disrespected. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised if Jaylen Brown came out next season and won MVP, because the disrespect that has been surrounding his name, the fact that he's come off the best season of his career, the fact that he was top 5 in MVP conversations, the fact that he led a team that wasn't even projected to be in the playoffs to the number 2 seed in the playoffs, that people were still expecting a championship out of this season. I think a lot of people are discrediting Jaylen Brown's ability. You know what I'm saying? He's able to play both sides. And even just the fact that Jason Tatum didn't play all season. We've seen what a team can look like with Jaylen Brown. You know what I'm saying? With just Jaylen Brown leading the team, leading the franchise, basically putting the franchise on his back. And we haven't seen that with Jason Tatum. But the fact that they'll still favor Jason Tatum over Jaylen Brown is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Jaylen Brown has basically proven all the questions that we had his whole career, especially alongside Jason Tatum, wrong. The fact that, you know, there were some people that say he couldn't lead a team. You know what I'm saying? You could say vice versa, but like I said, we've seen what a team can look like with Jaylen Brown, and we haven't with Jason Tatum. You know what I'm saying? So I think the disrespect with Jaylen Brown has to stop. And I really don't get it. He's an elite two-way player. But not only that, he's available. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's injury prone. He's been battling injuries his whole career. The man consistently shows up in every season he's played, especially this season. Him playing pretty much every game in a season where people thought that it was over for the Boston Celtics. You know what I'm saying? And no disrespect to Jason Tatum, but I feel like if anything, you know what I'm saying, Jason Tatum should be the one, you know what I'm saying, in trade rumors, Boston looking to move on from him. You know what I'm saying? And it just doesn't make sense to me to where Jaylen Brown's the one that's had the better season, that's shown you that he can lead a team, and Jason Tatum hasn't quite shown you yet. But you're still deciding to move on from Jaylen Brown more than Jason Tatum for some reason. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be a hidden agenda within that, because it just doesn't make sense. But just talking about the trade also for Philly, Jaylen Brown is pretty much an also perfect fit for what Philly, likes to do, or just for how Philly's roster is constructed right now. I think he's a perfect fit. You know what I'm saying? Because, you have a pretty much small backcourt with VJ Edgecombe and Maxey. You know what I'm saying? You somewhat need that defensive versatility. You need elite defense somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Because you having Joel Embiid, Maxey, and VJ Edgecombe, who VJ Edgecombe has shown that he can, take on the best player. He has shown that he can really lock up. You know what I'm saying? But the fact now that you add Jaylen Brown within that organization, within that equation, it opens up the game for, VJ Edgecombe to, continue to progress and not have so much pressure on him coming into his second season, because he's shown so much potential in his first that, coming into this season before they got Jaylen Brown, the expectation was Edgecombe to make a way bigger leap, but now it takes some of that pressure off of him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Now the expectation is still for him to make a big leap, but he can do it in a more natural, comfortable way, and it won't be forced. And like I said, Jaylen Brown, he adds defensive versatility, which takes the pressure off of everybody. Because when it comes to situations where, you run into players like Jason Tatum, for example, you finally have that player that you can put on him. When it comes to, those bigger wings, that Edgecombe may be too small to cover, or Maxey's not really, equipped to do that. So it gives you, that in between game, to where now you can put Jaylen Brown on the team's best player and be comfortable with the result, and he can still add something offensively. Still a 20-point per game scorer. So he's elite on both ends. He can give you 25, a night on the offensive end, but he can also, take on the team's best player defensively, and make it hard for him, take him out the game. And I think this trade just opens up the game up for everybody. Especially for Maxey, because we've seen in this year's past playoff, it was so much pressure on Maxey to the point where, teams knew Maxey wanted the ball in his hands. Teams knew the ball was going to be in Maxey's hands. So basically all the attention shifted towards Maxey. Especially when Embiid went out the game. And given that Edgecombe was a rookie, didn't have much experience. You're only going to get so much from a rookie. So, given that you added Jaylen Brown and his 25-point per game scoring, it takes some of the pressure off of Maxey to where he doesn't have to create as much. He can also come off ball, and then in moments be able to take over. Take over more easily. Because you're still going to have to worry about Jaylen Brown. And while your attention is worried about Jaylen Brown, Maxey running around. Then if you try to shift your attention to Maxey, Jaylen Brown coming around. Then, like I said, if Embiid is healthy, now you got to worry about a 30-point per game scorer. Now you got to worry about an MVP, a former MVP, having the ball in his hands. And then that's really just going to open up the game for people like Edgecombe. Spot up, cut, make those small plays that he, throughout his rookie year he's been making. So like I said, it's just everywhere you look at it, it can be a matchup problem. Adding somebody like Jaylen Brown, especially offensively, because there's so much you have to worry about. They have so many, players that's able to score one-on-one, but can also, create for others with their scoring. They got much needed defense with Jaylen Brown, but they also got much needed scoring with Jaylen Brown. Even for somebody like Jaylen Brown, now Jaylen Brown doesn't have to, put on the cape like he did, this past season and putting on 25, 30 a night. just to give the team an opportunity. And yeah, you know, I like this move for Philly. Now for Boston, like I said, we really won't know until 28, 29, 2030. You know what I'm saying? To where now they're able to get players that they really want. But as of right now, it's a lot of question marks. Because even, like I said, for this trade, this was for when Paul George's contract expired. So when it does expire, who are they going to be able to get? You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much the biggest trade for Boston. You know what I'm saying? When this era of Paul George is over, who are they going to get? What are these draft picks going to turn into? And yeah, you know what I'm saying? That's pretty much all I got for this video. Appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Do those two things for me. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one.